What's up, everybody? This is Connor Williams for the Los Angeles Rams running back, and I'm tuned in with the Fantasy Football Counselor.
Welcome to the show, guys. Happy Monday. We got week one full NFL recap, highlights, everything here for you. The studs and sucks at each position. We're starting off with quarterback, giving you guys all the guys that perform well, all the guys that crap the bed, and man, oh man, we got so much to cover.
There's a lot.
Too much. And along with the latest news and notes, which is going to be baked into the content. So this whole show is latest news and notes and fantasy relevance. And we're going to talk a little bit about waiver wire week 2 as we're going through each position. Jim, there's so much to cover, so much to talk about. Welcome to the show, man.
I am full of football, counselor. I have eaten my fill yesterday. I just gorged myself on nothing but football the whole day. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. You think the players have it rough. They're only on the field for 3 hours. We're on the field pretty much. We're on the couch, I should say, right from the morning when we wake up. Right?
Yeah, all day. I was watching the all the pre stuff, fantasy football stuff before the game started.
Right.
And then 8 solid hours of red zone and then Sunday night football with just a break for dinner. I'm exhausted, man. I am drained of football. I don't even know if I can watch the Monday night game tonight because it was just too much yesterday. I think I overdid it.
You got a break? How did you get a break? I usually just bring my dinner right to the couch. And I think the hardest part of the day is rolling out of bed and making it to the couch. It's the transition from getting out of the bed and making it to the couch. Is that journey. It's that long journey to the couch that is probably the toughest part of my day. That's it.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
So I'm sure you guys can relate. So if you guys are new to the channel, guys, smash it, tap it, slap it, hit the thumbs up, guys. If you're new to the channel, we are a little bit late today. And I don't want to say late. I think we should just release this show a little bit later in the day because there's so much to digest, so much to consume. And I don't want to end up doing this episode at, 1 o'clock in the morning the night before, right? Because the last game ends, right? A Sunday night game ends late. I'm not going to be doing and recording a show. So we wake up gingerly, get up from that hard day's work of sitting on the couch, and we're going to...
You get a little time to just process what you saw the day before, and I get it.
Let it bake in. Okay, so if you guys are new to the channel, smash it, tap it, slap it. Let me know who your suck of the week is. We're going to announce ours here on the show. Your suck of the week, your stud of the week. How'd you guys do? I know I did great, minus Zamir White, which we'll get to in a second. So much to unpack here. So let's just start right to it. Let's just dive right into it. The whole show is breaking news and notes. So let's get right to breaking Brad.
We now have breaking news.
Yes, Breaking Brad. We're giving you a break today. We're just getting right to it. So let's start off here, Jim, with the quarterbacks here. Studs and sucks at each position. So I'm going to quickly glance over it, kind of go over some highlights, and you could dive in. But we got Josh Allen crushed it. Again, I told you it's very important to anchor your team with an ace quarterback. I've got him on all my teams. So he's kind of been my staple, which, again, I'm very grateful for. Josh Allen, 31.2 points. 2 touchdowns. We saw him fly in the air. Jim, did you see Josh Allen take flight in the red zone there?
He will not be denied. He will not be denied getting a touchdown. It's just amazing performance yesterday. And I want you to notice that the top 5 quarterbacks, 4 of them are rushing quarterbacks.
Right.
You need to have a rushing quarterback to be competitive. And these were the best players of the week. Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Anthony Richardson, and Lamar Jackson. Then you have Baker Mayfield in there because he had 4 passing touchdowns. So good for Baker Mayfield. But you need to have the rushing quarterbacks for your fantasy team. It's a cheat code, man. It's a cheat code. Those rushing yards are total cheat code. So
I got to give an honorable mention to Derek Carr, believe it or not. I mean, 3 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah.
One to our guy, Rashid Shaheed, who was on the show. Congrats, Rashid. He was right. He told us he's going to get an uptick. So give him a round of applause. Rashid Shaheed, amazing stuff. He's going to get an uptick in targets, and he did. And he outperformed, I think, Olave. We'll get to wide receivers in a second. A lot of these wide receiver twos outperformed their superiors. It was wild this week.
Yeah, and the thing with the Rashid, though, he only had 3 targets. So he's kind of like a guy that I still would not start just because, yeah, he did absolutely unbelievable with those 3 targets. But that's something that's going to be very hard to repeat if you're only getting that level of volume. So he's a guy, while I would keep him on my bench, and I actually have him on my bench in several leagues, I'm happy to have him. Right. I would not be starting him this next week unless I see some more volume to him. And he deserves it. I don't know why he wouldn't be getting more volume with that sort of production. But Him and Alec Pierce. That's another guy that did the same thing.
Yeah.
Just a massive production on 3 targets. So watch out for those guys.
Just not
Don't
sustainable.
overpay for them.
Exactly. We'll talk about that. So again, other honorable mention, Jalen Hurts, 16.4 points. Not really that good. Geno Smith, 17.8. Just a couple of mentions. Tua had himself finished 8th amongst, again, this is excluding the Monday night game, obviously. Tua finished 8th amongst quarterbacks here. And man, Dak Prescott crapped the bed. Only 11.5 points, 1 touchdown. 179 yards. We were talking about this. This must be field rust. I mean, this is just these guys knocking the rust off here. He's the highest paid player of all time. It's crazy.
Yeah, $60 million a year, man. I think that was the case with a lot of these quarterbacks. So, and because the quarterbacks didn't do good, the wide receivers didn't do good this week. I think that that's something that will improve. But yeah, there was a lot of really, really poor quarterback performances. I mean, look at this. Justin Fields, 156 yards, 0 touchdowns. Jared Goff, 217 yards, 1 touchdown. Deshaun Watson, 169 yards, 1 touchdown. Bryce Young, 161 yards, 0 touchdowns. I mean, they're just down the board. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Will Levis, Kirk Cousins, Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
I mean, these are all guys that people took as their wide receiver ones. Couple wide receiver twos quarterback ones, some QB twos in there as well. But these numbers are abysmal, and they're also terrible for the wide receivers that they play with because there's no volume. But I think all this stuff will improve. A lot of these guys didn't even play in the preseason, so what do you expect, right?
Caleb Williams, 7.2 points, didn't have a good game. Again, you're looking at, this is why I say, you don't want to make a rookie quarterback your starter. And I didn't mention Jane Daniels.
Yeah, unless it's Jane Daniels, right?
Yeah.
Jane Daniels got the 88 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, so he was great, right? It didn't matter that he only passed he only passed for 184 yards and had 0 passing touchdowns, but it doesn't matter because of the rushing yards. But yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by that performance by the rookie Caleb.
What else is there? Okay, so again, I just want to talk Daniel Jones real quick. Getting 0, he just sucks. 4.9 fantasy points, 2 interceptions, 0 touchdowns. Did you see the video of Daniel Jones coming out of the stadium getting booed brutally? Did you see that video?
Poor guy. I just feel bad for him. He's trying. I mean, the coolest thing about the Giants yesterday was those uniforms. I was digging the retro uniforms. I think they should just stick with that. But I mean, are you surprised? Are you surprised that Daniel Jones was bad? No, I'm not surprised at all. 186 yards, 0 touchdowns.
I came across a meme I got to share with you. Ready for this? I'll show you just a quick picture of it right here. So it has a picture of Daniel Jones and a Happy Meal. Here's what it says. 4-piece McNugget Happy Meal, $5.39. Can't throw touchdowns, can't read a defense, makes people happy. Daniel Jones, $160 million. Can't throw a touchdown, can't read a defense, makes people sad. Right? There it is, right there. It's kind of blurry here, but you guys get the idea, right? So Daniel Jones, I have no pity for the guy. Years to wow us, we're not wowed. I mean, his O-line, it's not helping him, but still, you can't keep blaming people. There's a time and you got to step up, right? You got to step up. And
and it's not a good team. That's the other thing. We knew it wasn't going to be a good team. And who could you really start on the Giants on a weekly basis? Probably Malik Neighbors as a flex. That's probably about the best you can hope from this team. I wouldn't want to start anybody else on this.
He's going to destroy Malik,
right
unfortunately. He's going to destroy Malik.
And I think that the coach is going to get fired sometime mid-season. It's not going to take long. Probably by week 5 or 6, I think is when it's going to happen. But it's just bad, just awful. I mean, how are the Giants this bad? How could you be this bad year after year? It's
I know, and I just saw another meme with Saquon Barkley, man. Just it's finally behind a good O-line. They did this AI voiceover I posted where he's saying I'm so glad I'm not on the Giants anymore, and I'm some people that came to Brazil to see me basically could say to their kids one day that they saw God on the field, and he's finally behind a good O-line. So props to Saquon Barkley, which we'll get to running backs in a second. So Jim, let's get right to the chase here. Let's cut to the chase. We're not talking about Jamar Chase. Well, let's just get right to it. Speaking of Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, I would say, cut to the chase. Joe Burrow is my suck of the week. Again, I have no Joe Burrow stock. 8.1 fantasy points. I got him listed here for 0 touchdowns. How many yards did he get? 164.
164 yards. That's it.
So Joe
Yeah.
Burrow, you, sir, should be ashamed of yourself, are the suck of the week. I'm done with your excuses. Oh, I'm hurt this week. I'm hurt this year. I'm hurt that. I've had enough. I've had enough. You, sir, are the suck of the week. You should be absolutely ashamed of yourself. Now, I'm so blessed that I don't have stock of Joe Burrow, or did I recommend him that hard? So, yeah, that's a suck of the week, Jim. Do you agree with this? My suck of the week?
I do fully agree. I don't think I took any shares of Joe Burrow in my best ball leagues. And I just basically stayed away from him the whole offseason. Although, lots of guys that I did take, like Kirk Cousins, did about the same. So really, but at least Kirk Cousins wasn't my one. I wasn't taking Kirk Cousins as my one. But again, like I said, a lot of this is week one, just week one shaking the rust off. So I think that a lot of these guys are going to improve for week 2 and going forward. I am not concerned about it in general, but yeah, that was just really bad. I mean, the fact that Cincinnati lost to probably the worst offense in the NFL is saying something, man. That is saying something. What did they score? 7 points? That's all they got?
Well,
7?
the thing is, I want to talk about that game really quickly. Yeah, it was 16-10 Patriots. And I think a lot of people in the survivor pools all had Cincy.
Oh, yes.
Like that was the lock of the week. Like that was like your guaranteed lock of the week. I mean, I would have looked at that game and thought, okay, yeah, for sure. Aside from that, there is no other game. I would have probably taken the Bills, maybe. But I'm glad they won. But Arizona, it wasn't as obvious as a win, I would say, out of all these matches. I'm looking at maybe the Saints and the Panthers. Not looking back, hindsight, you could see how easy that was of a blowout, 47-10. But man, oh man, I mean, that screwed a lot of pools, survivor contests for sure. Eliminated probably about 90% of leagues, I would say.
It probably did.
Or maybe more.
That's why I don't do survivor pools, man. I don't do survivor pools because the most obvious one, it never goes the way you think it's going to go.
No.
And I never make it past about week 3 on those survivor pools. And yes, I would have been out week 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
again, one more thing. Bo Nix didn't do good. 11 points, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Couple more highlights there. Again, we talked about Dak Prescott, 11.5 points. Sam Darnold. Before we go here from the quarterbacks here, so let's get right to it. QB waiver wire suggestions. I would say,
okay, yeah. So definitely. Now, here's the thing, right? Sam Darnold looked really good. But who was he playing? He was playing the Giants. So is he really good? Or is it just the Giants are just so awful it can make a bad quarterback look good? They play who does Minnesota play this week? It's
let me take a quick glance here.
Because it's a much tougher matchup.
Hold on.
San Francisco. They play San Francisco week 2.
Right.
So if you think that somehow Sam Darnold is the solution,
right,
and that he's this found nugget of gold, I would be very cautious. Although he's definitely worth a pickup. Also, Baker Mayfield's worth a pickup, man. Only rostered 32% of leagues. He would be the guy that I want. That offense looked really good yesterday.
Yeah.
And so, I think both those guys are good for the waiver wire.
I mean, aside from that, man, if you're really desperate, I mean, there's nobody else. I mean, maybe Geno's
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr. That's the one. Derek Carr. That's the one I was looking for. Finished 6th last night or this week in fantasy points. So some waiver wire suggestions at quarterback if you are desperate. Oh, and I think Ryan Tannehill may be a viable option as a replacement for Jordan Love. They were talking to him.
Maybe.
I don't know if that's going to happen. Yeah, maybe Ryan Tannehill.
Tannehill said he's looking for the right situation. How could you have a more perfect situation than the Green Bay offense? I mean, come on, let's get real, Tannehill. If you're smart, you'd take this job in a second because this is like an optimal situation for you. But
and I think Love is only going to be out, I think, 4 weeks max. I don't see it being any longer, lower body. Okay, so I'm very fortunate there that I'm so glad he's okay because there's so much fantasy relevance going on there. All right, let's move on to my favorite position, studs and sucks at the famous running back position. Man, there's so much to cover here and unpack here. So let's start off with the guy that I've got in all my leagues except for one. And in that league, I ended up playing against him. What are the odds? I was talking to you about this yesterday. Saquon Barkley, Saquads, we were just talking about him. 109 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions, 1 receiving touchdown, 3 total touchdowns for 33.2 points. absolutely crushing it. Jim, do you think this is sustainable? I believe it is.
Well, I think what happened in that game plan that we saw, Green Bay really sold out to stop uh to stop Jalen Hurts, right? They really sold out to stop his rushing ability. And so Saquon was able to run wild. And so I think defenses are going to see what Saquon did and be like, okay, maybe we'll take our chance with Hurts.
Yeah.
And so they're probably going to lock down and key on him a lot more than they did in the first game. But certainly it's, like I said, it's a great situation.
Right.
I'm always nervous about the goal line. We saw that they tried to do a tush push at the end at the goal line for Hurts, and they screwed up the exchange and fumbled, which was bad. But they're still going to utilize Hurts around the goal line, and that is going to hurt Saquon's value going forward. I think most of his rushing scores were also from outside the from outside the 10-yard line. Like he busted off long runs to get into the end zone. And that was great. But like I said, he's great. He's in a great situation, but I do think his value is capped for the season because of the goal line stuff. So,
Well, you said that before, and I had a video saying the year of the Quan, you're like, you're not in on him because of Hurts. I told you that they would take off the pressure from Hurts and give it to Saquon. So we're going to see. I mean, we'll see if it was just a 1 week blip or it's going to continue. I think he's in a great spot.
I totally agree. He's in a great spot. And I have him in one of my leagues and I'm happy to have him. Like I said, I was just nervous about, we'll see what happens during the rest of the season, but week 1 looked fantastic. So
a couple other guys, this is to be expected. Joe Mixon finishing second. Again, this is excluding the Monday games here, but Joe Mixon finishing second, 26.8. Devin Otchain, I was wrong. I mean, he's looking good, but only 10 attempts. This is something I was really concerned about. The volume won't be there.
7 targets. That's where he made his money, man. 76 yards, 76 passing yards. And in PPR, that's super valuable. That's like 14 fantasy points right there. So, but yeah, Joe Mixon, man, 30 carries, 3 targets, 33 total touches. That's an insane level of volume. That is, I don't know if that's sustainable for a guy his age, but he certainly looked fantastic. We knew he'd be good. We knew that the Houston offense was going to look great, and they did. They looked really, really good yesterday. So,
Devin Otchain third, J.K. Dobbins, Alvin Kamara, Ramondre Stevenson, James Conner, Jerome Ford, Kenneth Walker, who got hurt, and Aaron Jones. So let's talk about these top 10 guys real quick. J.K. Dobbins, I just don't see this being sustainable for the Chargers. I mean, he's a great spot, right? Like, he's in an opportunity to really succeed. Check downs, if the field opens up for him, good running back coach and Harbaugh. Is he going to last? I mean, that's my biggest thing. 22.9.
Big thing is durability, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as long as he's healthy, you start him. But also, just want to mention, this is pretty low volume. 10 touches, 3 targets. I usually like to see my minimum to want to start a player is 15 touches and targets total.
Yeah.
And he didn't even hit that. Now, so he was super efficient with what he got. He busted off some really big runs, but I don't know if you're going to see this kind of performance week after week. This is kind of like, maybe because they were just playing the Raiders,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. A couple other things, questions answered. I'm really upset Trey Benson, he didn't get much work. It was the James Conner show, 19.9. And this is what I noticed this week. And, we were kind of concerned about, even Kyron Williams, maybe having Blake Corum dip in, but it seems like the teams are starting with the guys that they're familiar with. It's kind of familiar territory. They're rolling with James Conner. They're rolling more with Kenneth Walker. We saw he had 20 attempts and he left the game with an abdomen injury, something to note here. They're starting with their starters. Even David Montgomery came out on the first drive, but they really are, which is really annoying for us fantasy owners, running by the committee as much as possible. But again, Kyron wasn't really hurt. James Conner was hurt the first week. But look for, I believe that guys like Trey Benson are going to get more integrated as we get into the season. But again, he's like my RB5 on my team. So I'm not really concerned, but I am bothered that James Conner is getting more of the work. And I still believe Trey Benson is the better out of the 2 running backs. So.
Yeah, I mean, also, you got a lot of old guys at the top of the list this week, right? You've got Joe Mixon, you got Kamara, you got Aaron Jones, James Conner. All these guys, they look good now, man. They're coming in fresh. They got fresh legs. They're feeling pretty good. This season is going to wear on them really hard. I don't know if you remember last year, but I believe that Eckler had an awesome week 1. He was like right there, top 3 running back week 1, and then it just kind of fell off really quick. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen to some of these guys. It's a lot of wear and tear, and these guys are old. So
Absolutely. So let's go through it here again. Who is the suck of the week here? Kyron had a safe game, by the way, 14.4 points. Jacobs really sucked, 12.4 points. Not impressive, Jacob. He looked good on some runs near down the stretch, but not really good. ATN. I want to talk about ATN and his distribution. He was starting to lose he only had 12 attempts. And he's really getting cut into Bigsby. It was a 50-50% spread. I want to talk about this. And this is a guy we kind of mentioned a little bit, and we were hearing a lot of buzz in the offseason that Tank Bigsby was really impressing. And when you look at the stats, when you look at the breakdown of both of these guys, I mean, Tank Bigsby averaged 6.1 yards per carry. ATN fumbled. I don't know if you saw it, but he averaged, first of all, he averaged 3.7 yards per carry, and he fumbled at the goal line too. He fumbled. He got the ball knocked out of him. And Bigsby did look more explosive on those runs. So this is one of the main reasons, because I was hearing all that buzz about Tank Bigsby in the offseason. And I was kind of high on Bigsby as a stash last year. I was maybe a year behind, but I think Bigsby's going to be a thorn there, Jim. I really feel that.
Yeah, actually, he's one of my top pickups for the week. 12 touches is what he got. Now, he got 0 targets, nothing in the passing game, but that 12 touches was very encouraging. So I think he is a priority pickup for the waiver wire. Also, J.K. Dobbins, obviously, with his performance, he looks good. He would be also one that I'd be looking to pick up. And Jaleel McLaughlin of the Denver Broncos had 10 touches and 5 targets. I believe it was 5 targets. He had 5 catches. So again, very solid performances from all 3 of those guys. They would definitely be the ones that I would prioritize to add this week on the waiver wire.
Yeah, I also want to note here, again, if you're in leagues where you are desperate, especially PPR leagues, Justice Hill. I mean, I'm not a fan of Justice Hill at all, 11.5 points. But again, they were playing behind. Henry didn't get a lot of work. Henry just did not see a lot of work on the Ravens. Maybe Justice Hill, again, if you're desperate, there could be something there, but I'm not getting too excited about him, Jim.
I don't anticipate the Ravens being in negative game script in many games this year.
No,
they're a really good team, right? But if they do fall into negative game script, he got 8 targets on the Thursday game, which is really good. But he only had 1 carry. So, again, it's not a guy that you would play on a week-to-week basis, and only if they have a really, really tough matchup that you think they're going to be playing from behind on would I even consider starting him, but I probably wouldn't. So
a lot of people talking about him, but Emmanuel Wilson, Green Bay, had 6.8 points. But as soon as Marshawn Lloyd comes back, I think he could take the job. So I'm not going to jump on the Emmanuel Wilson train, or even Jaleel McLaughlin. I don't know if it's sustainable. We'll see. Any other guys here that may be worth?
I just have to say that McLaughlin out-touched Williams, right? So, let me
do a comparison here. Let me do a quick comparison.
Yeah, and I think Emmanuel Wilson, actually, given the fact that Marshawn Lloyd's been injured like all preseason, he's still injured. He's not going to play till at least week 4. This guy is like so far behind the 8 ball when it comes to being ready to play in the regular season. I think Emmanuel Wilson is actually a decent pickup, not a startable asset. Really, he's only startable if something happens to Josh Jacobs, but I think he is absolutely worth rostering because he did look good in the work that he got, man. 4 carries for 46 yards. That's pretty darn good. And then he also got 3 targets. So, not anyone that I would start, but I think he's worth a bench spot.
Yeah, but Jaleel McLaughlin, 10 attempts, 27 yards, 2.7 yards per carry, 5.8 points. But Javonte Williams sucks. 8 attempts, 23 yards, 2.9 yards per carry, 3.3 points. Just terrible. Terrible. These Broncos running backs, just terrible. I mean, that's part of having a suspect offense, right?
Yeah, and again, it's a total committee back there. So it's hard to say, but it looks like Jaleel McLaughlin is in the lead as far as volume. So, you can go on that, especially in PPR leagues. So.
Okay, so again, Chase Brown, people talk about him, didn't do much either. 5.3 points, just didn't get much done. 3.7 yards per carry. A couple highlights here I want to talk about. Rico Dowdle, people were all hyped on him, 4.2 points. Again, I hate all this hype about Rico Dowdle. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, dude, he sucks. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, years to I was running out and people recommending Rico Dowdle. It's unbelievable. Don't listen to this sheep.
Yeah, I mean he got good passing volume. He got 6 targets, but he only ended up with 1, so that was bad. Had he caught like 4 or 5 targets, I think his numbers would have looked a lot better. But let's not forget also the Browns have a pretty good defense. So
Yeah.
we see it in the numbers that nobody did real good on Dallas yesterday, even though they got the win.
Okay, so who's your suck of the week at the running back position? Who do you got to pick one, Jim? Who's the one that best highest draft capital that didn't perform? And I'm looking at my guy, the only guy that sucked. You go first. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning Javonte Williams, which is really disappointing. I knew this was a do or die year for him, and maybe it's just not it. Maybe he just can't do it after those injuries he sustained over the past few years. But I think I would probably put him in as the suck of the week. He was like the RB 50. So
Yeah.
that's not good.
I'm going to give it to, there's 2 guys. One had a higher draft capital. First of all, it's DeAndre Swift as my honorable mention, Chicago, 5 points. I mean, 3.3 something yards per carry. DeAndre Swift is slated as a starter. Like, again, I'm not sold on this guy at all. Never finished a season. Finally did decent last year behind a good old line. That's why I like Saquon so much, because if Swift can do well there, Saquon's going to destroy it. That's why I've got a lot of Saquon stuff. So I got to say DeAndre Swift, but my suck of the week, and he should be ashamed of himself, is Zamir White. Okay, I've got him in all my leagues, and he was a big letdown. And he was like, he got stuffed at the line, like on the first couple, carries. And then Madison came in, caught this lucky pass. Okay, and they were starting to use.
It wasn't a lucky. It was a good catch, man.
No,
He
it was
wasn't lucky.
It was actually, it was coincidentally his longest play in 6 years. Like, he sucks. Like, there's nothing about Madison that is good. And then we started to see Zamir White come out looking good for a couple runs, but very disappointed in Zamir White. I expected way more. The coaches, I'm sure, expected a lot more. They looked rough all around. It was a hard game to watch. And I mean, Zamir is my suck of the week. And I take ownership on this. I think he's going to improve. It was just a bad game. I'm going to let that go. And that's why I'm glad to have Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, and some of the wide receivers we're going to talk about. They kept me alive this week. But this was a big down on and Henry and Zamir let me down this week. And I think it was just a bad week for those guys. Those guys are stud running backs. Just a bad week.
Yeah, I mean, a negative game script. I mean, both those guys were stuck in negative game scripts, and they're not players that are known to catch the ball. They don't have a lot of pass catching skills. Yeah. And I think that's going to be a problem going forward. And it's not as much of a problem for Derrick Henry, because they're not going to be in negative game scripts a whole lot, but it could be a real problem for Zamir, given that Las Vegas is not very good. So again, I'm not surprised that Madison was actually pretty decent yesterday. But again, it was off of passing volume. He got 4 catches for 43 yards and a touchdown. That's what basically made his day. It wasn't the ground stuff. He only got 19 rushing yards on the ground there. But again, he benefited from a negative game script. I think that Alexander Madison could be valuable going forward. He is another guy on my list to add, although he's not a guy that I would really start. He's not getting the kind of volume that would make me trust to start him. So
quick thing here, guys that led in snap counts, I see here, like Alvin Kamara was out on the field a lot, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley a lot, David Montgomery, Joe Mixon was out there a lot, 47%. So a lot of Bijan was out there quite a bit, right? Derrick Henry, some snap count guys, so you want those guys that are out a lot, and that's very, very important. Snap counts, volumes, attempts, very, 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 very important. Okay. So let's keep going back. Now we're going to go to wide receivers, Jim. This is very, very important position because there's a lot of uncertainty. And I think we all know who the suck of the week is, which we're going to wait in a second here.
There was a lot of sucks of the week, man. There was a lot. But again, yes, I blame the quarterbacks. There was a lot of sucky quarterback play this week. So, it's hard to blame a receiver when the quarterback only has like 150 passing yards.
Yeah, and I don't see, again, I've talked about Romeo Doubs being the one. I still feel Dobbs is the one. Jaden Reed had a couple. He's explosive. I think Jaden Reed is the most explosive player, but he was blown coverage. Guys like Xavier Worthy also just got really lucky. Like, they just had big openings, blown coverage. But Jaden Reed, Cooper Kupp, man, 21 targets.
21 targets. Yeah, geez, just crazy. How could he sustain that? I don't think you can sustain that. I don't know.
Well, Puka out with that knee. We're going to find out more information about his knee, how long he could potentially be out. But we talked about this, and that's the main reason I avoided Puka is what goes up must come down, coming off that astronomical monster year. And I said that a healthy Cooper Kupp is going to dip into the volume. And what happens week one? A healthy Cooper Kupp just dipped into the volume. So we talked about this. I knew that it was an overpriced price tag for Puka Nacua. And you can go back and listen to all my wide receiver videos. I'm going to actually pull it up, start pulling up we should do a highlight reel of how many things I've been accurate about on. Same with yourself, Jim. I don't think you were high on Puka. Do you have any Puka stock at all?
I actually did take Puka, and I really regret that I did it. I mean, he had been injured. He'd been injured like all camp, right? But then he came out full participant in practices this past week. I'm like, okay, he's good. He's healthy. And then, it happens. So I got to deal with that. That kind of sucks. Actually, that team has been inundated with injuries because I also have Kenneth Walker and I have David Njoku on this team with Puka Nacua. So I'm like, what the hell am I going to do week 2? Because I'm going to have all these guys out. So that's going to be a real problem. But I did actually end up taking Cooper Kupp in several leagues. Very, very happy I got him. And if you're looking for an ad right now, Demarcus Robinson of the Rams should be a priority ad for wide receiver. He got 7 targets yesterday. And he looked good. He looked really, really good filling in, especially after Puka left. So
let's save the waiver wires to the end of this because I got to put that
sure.
It's okay, but that's a good one for sure. We don't want to miss that. Jaden Reed, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Jameson Williams. Remember, Jim, another thing I said, I'm the Nostradamus of fantasy. I talked about Jameson Williams doing good in training camp. Could he dip into Amon-Ra? And I said, yeah, he could. And he said, nah, don't worry about Jameson Williams, outside speed guy, blah, 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 blah. Finished 4th amongst wide receivers, excluding the Monday night game. I talked to you about this, Jim. Why don't you listen to me?
You did talk to me about it. And again, this is another situation where there wasn't a lot of pass yards to go around. Laporta only had 5 targets, and I think that Amon-Ra had 3 targets or something pathetic like that. I think it will be better going forward, but there was only 217 passing yards. I do believe that's all Goff got yesterday. So it just wasn't a very prolific passing offense yesterday. And Jameson broke off he had that huge 70-yard run. That was most of his production was one big play. So
yeah, again, a lot of this stuff, I think it's 52 long, but either way, it was a lot.
Something like that. I don't know. It was a big, long run for a touchdown.
52 yards. But yeah, here's the thing, guys. It's like some of this stuff is going to change. It's not sustainable. Like I don't think Xavier Worthy finishing top 10 amongst wide receivers, again, excluding that Monday game at 20.8 points, is sustainable. I mean, again, especially with Hollywood Brown, when he comes back, there's just so much target dilution where and again, he only had 3 targets.
He only had 4. He had 3 targets and 1 carry. And so he's like in the same boat as like Rashid Shaheed or Alec Pierce.
Yes.
Right. He's not a guy I would want to start. And also Jaden Reed, very explosive, but very limited volume, 7 touches total, that's good. And he's explosive, but certainly his production is going to decline with no Love in the lineup for the next month. So he's a guy that, I'd be okay starting him as a flex, but that's about the most I would trust him for this next week. So,
and I want to note here, a lot of these wide receivers did not get a lot of targets. Outside of Cooper Kupp, who had 21 targets, there's a big drop off. Believe it or not, Wan'Dale Robinson from the Giants,
right?
12 targets. Cortland Sutton 12, Tyreek 12, Keenan Allen 11, AJ Brown 10, CeeDee Lamb 10. This is not a lot. I mean, when you look at Cooper Kupp, completely eclipsed all these guys. Even a guy like Jaden Reed, who finished number 1. Amongst wide receivers, 33 points, 6 targets. So you got to be careful. Then you got to look at who's playing quarterback for these guys next week, right? For the Packers. So just be a little cautious here with these guys. Godwin, 8 targets, 22 points. Sometimes they're overinflated. Maybe they get a lot of rushing yards. They blown coverage. They get a big play. Like Alec Pierce, right? Had himself a decent game. But is that sustainable? Probably not. Alex Pierce top 9. It's just I don't see that being sustainable moving forward.
Yeah, I mean these guys had a couple of big plays, but the volume is so low, you can't really trust that to continue on a week-to-week basis. It happens every year. Every year there's these blow-up guys, and everybody rushes to the waiver wire to grab them, and then they don't do anything the rest of the year. And it's just because if you get 3 targets and you get 2 touchdowns, you're not going to see that again. It's not going to happen again. So they got lucky. So again, they're worth rostering. See what happens. put him on your bench, but I would not start him.
Let's talk about some guys, some highlights here. Ladd McConkey had himself 7 targets. I just think at 14.9 points, had that beautiful touchdown. And what I love about Ladd McConkey is his ability to catch the ball, turn, find a hole, and just get the extra yard or leap for the touchdown, which is exactly what he did. His ability to do that is uncanny. It's something to marvel at and watch. I think there's a ton of upside there with him moving forward. Brian Thomas, I see him being the one, like I've said this before, 14.7 points, had himself 4 targets. I think that's going to go up. They were playing Miami. It was a bit of a tough game, Battle of Florida there. So I wanted to highlight those 2 guys. I wish I had seen more Keon Coleman. I mean, he had that 1 catch. I think he was 28 yards. I think he just finished with 9.1 points. We're going to see more there. I just think that they're just kind of getting comfortable there. Still more to see out of those rookies. A couple guys that I like. Other guys, Jamar Chase finished 26. Again, excluding the Monday game, had a bad game. 6 targets, 12 points. Very disappointing. Jerry Jeudy had himself, I think he got a touchdown, 11.5 points. I know how much you love him. Calvin Ridley, a big disappointment, 8 points. A couple other guys. Michael Pittman, 7.1 points. Very big letdown. Keenan Allen, we talked about him. Targets were there, but his fantasy points were not. 6.9 points. DK Metcalf, we talked about him busting, right? All these guys that were drafted early. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4.3 points, right? Deontay Johnson, Drake London, 3.5 points. And on. Everyone's talking about Curtis Samuel being the one there. 3.5 points. Chris Olave, 3 point. Jim Ward. I mean, this is a disaster week 1. Disaster.
It is a disaster. But again, I blame more of just the quarterbacks not performing well in week 1. That's a big reason why a lot of these guys busted. I'm not ready to panic on them yet. We got to give them a couple of weeks, and I think things will improve as we go to week 2, week 3. Again, these are stars. These are star receivers. And yet we had these quarterbacks only throwing for sub 200 yards. That's just not something that you see in this league. So it should get better. I think it was just, again, a lot of week 1. A lot of times these guys haven't played. I mean, you talk about Jamar Chase. He hasn't done anything. He didn't play at all during training camp. He stayed out of all the preseason. He had 0 reps coming into the year. And so only was a limited participant on a couple of practices this week. So it's no wonder he didn't do well, but I do think that a lot of these players will improve substantially. Their volumes will improve. That's the thing that really shocks me, is just the low volume to some of these star receivers. It'll get better. I'm not ready to push the panic button yet, even with someone like Drake London, who I'm very close to pushing the panic button with.
Man. Okay. So suck of the week. I'm going to go with mine first. 1.4 fantasy points. Marvin Harrison Jr. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. 3 targets. Didn't even catch a ball. He got 1 ball. And again, did you see that play at the end? I just posted it on my Insta. Go follow at Fantasy Football Counselor, where he was wide open and Kyler didn't see him. And Tim the Bald guy was right. I was like, dude, I think Marvin Harrison's a good. I mean, I'm all in on the Keons and the Brian Thomases and the lads in the mid rounds. I've got more stock. I think I only have 1. I'm in 7 leagues. I have 1 Marvin Harrison in one of my leagues. And that was the only league. I'm like, I'm just going to try this 0 RB and see how that team turns out in contrast. So it's more of an experiment pick. But I just thought like the volume would be there. But Tim the Ball guy's like, man, I don't trust Kyler. And man, after watching that, I mean, the game's on the line. You've got Marvin Harrison, your number 1 target, your focal point. That's who you should be keying in on.
That should be your first read, right? That's your first read, is what's happening with Marvin Harrison. He didn't look that way.
Oh man, he's wide open. You could have won the game. Marvin Harrison could have got some points. But man, I can't even blame. Like, I don't even want to put Marvin Harrison as a sucker because I don't think it's his fault. Like, it's not a lack of talent thing. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that to Marvin Harris, especially a rookie. I'm gonna do it to Drake London. Drake London should be ashamed of himself. 3.5 fantasy points.
I blame Kirk Cousins. And I blame the Pittsburgh defense. That Pittsburgh defense was absolutely relentless.
What is a menace?
On that offense.
He's a menace. He's a menace. Yeah. Him and Max Crosby and Hutchinson are like those guys. Like Crosby on the Raiders. Wow, he's a menace too. Like these guys are problems. So when you're looking at defenses, man, they're just doing good stuff there. So So yeah, so I would say I still think Drake London. So who's your suck of the week? You don't want to blame Drake London. Are you going to
Oh,
go?
I got to go with the Chicago receivers, man. I mean, remember how all of them went top
Good
50,
point.
basically. Well, I guess not. Romo Dunze went outside the top 50.
Where
But
DJ
those
Moore
people
finish?
that took Keenan Allen and DJ Moore ended up with 5 catches for 36 yards,
10 points.
7.5 points. What was the wide receiver 40 on the week? I don't even know where Keenan Allen is. I'm trying to. Oh, here he is. Wide receiver 58. 4 catches on 11 targets for 29 yards. Ooh, that's
Yeah.
really bad.
Where's
But
Rome?
we were, I mean, again, it's a rookie quarterback. It's a crowded receiving room. What do you expect, man? I mean, this is I just couldn't believe what people were drafting those guys so early, and clearly it looks like Caleb Williams has some growing pains to go through. He had
Romo
83 passing yards yesterday. Not good. Not good.
Romo Tuesday, wide receiver finish again. I'm looking at PPR. Wide receiver 88, 2.1 fantasy points. Keenan Allen, wide receiver 55, 6.9 fantasy points. We talked about this is not a surprise, but the constraints again. DJ Moore drafted in the third round, 10 points. Like it's abysmal. It's terrible. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what we talked about this. Devontae Adams even had a bad game, finished 33 amongst wide receivers. It was a top pick, right? A couple surprises. Actually, you know what? One guy I want to give him props. He looked really good is Nico Collins, 17.7 points. I'm surprised that based on that dilution that this guy still managed to finish 11th. I don't think that's sustainable. I don't see it. And it was Diggs is the guy.
I think he's a solid player, man. I mean, he's solid. Got 8 targets. That's great. And I've always felt that if CJ Stroud gets 40 touchdowns this year, which I still think is in the realm of possibilities, he can get 40 touchdowns this year with the talent surrounding him, that all of his receivers can be good for fantasy. I mean, again, yesterday was a little rough, wasn't as good as I had hoped, but that volume to Nico makes me, okay, he's the clear one. He is the one on this team.
I don't know about I think Diggs is. Diggs is the one that got the touchdowns, though.
Diggs got the touchdown, but his volume was lower.
Two touchdowns. 2 touchdowns for Diggs. Two.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
so that is good. That is good. But
I think that's going to dip into it. And then Dell didn't really get that involved. I don't know where Dell was. I see Dell here had, I think, 7 targets. Didn't get as involved. And then Mixon was involved as well. I don't know, man. I just don't see it being sustainable. We'll see. I mean, who did they play, Texans, last week 1? I got to take a look here.
They played the Colts.
Oh, the Colts. Okay. They have a tougher matchup week 2. I got to take a look at who they're playing week 2 to give me a good idea. They're playing the Bears, so they should have a decent matchup again. They're the favorite, 6.5 next week. We'll talk about that in our preview show, but I don't know. It's just, I don't know if it's sustainable with Nico. We'll see. That could be the one I was wrong on, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. It's only week 1, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that all 3 of these guys can be good for fantasy if CJ Stroud hits that number.
Yeah.
And I think he can. I mean, this is a real thing. I mean, like when we talk about the formula to win it, to make it to a Super Bowl, it's you get yourself your franchise quarterback and then you surround him with massive amounts of talent while he's still on that cheap rookie contract. You load up the offense and defense with playmakers and you make your run. And we can see it happening with Houston. But then once you got to give that quarterback his big bag of money, then the team declines. The team, they lose key pieces. They can't keep the group together, and it just kind of deteriorates and falls apart. Like Cincinnati, who 2 or 3 seasons ago was again that young quarterback with the fresh talent and just making a run for the Super Bowl. We see it every year. But I think this is another example, and I think Houston has a really good chance to go real deep into the playoffs. We'll see if they can beat Kansas City, but I think they're going to be really good this year.
All right, Jim. Wide receiver waiver wire suggestions, and we'll move on to tight end and wrap this up. So who are
just 2 ones that I'm really interested? We already talked about Demarcus Robinson. I think he is absolutely top priority pickup. But then another guy is a guy that nobody talked about. Nobody has him on their team right now. Devon Vele.
Who that?
Denver Broncos.
Who is that?
Dude, who are we? Who is this guy? 8 targets yesterday. 8 targets. That is unbelievable. So those would be my 2 priority picks. But then you've also got guys like Wan'Dale Robinson, Greg Dortch, Ray McLeod, Xavier Legette, those guys also had really good volume. I don't think they're as good in good a position as these other two, but those are some names for you guys to look for on the waiver wire.
Yeah, Denver, Vele, 8 targets, 11.9 points. And again, imagine you draft Marvin Harrison round 2. I did in one league, and Dortch is getting, all the volume. It blows my mind. Stuff like that like brings out the worst of me in fantasy football. It makes me angry. All right, let's wrap this up here. Studs and sucks at the tight end position. We don't spend too much time on this. I will tell you that I am concerned about Jake Ferguson's lower leg injury. At the time of this recording, we have not gotten word. Hopefully, I heard it's not an MCL thing. It's not as serious as, it's not going to be season ending, which I'm very fortunate and blessed about because I got a lot of Ferguson stock. Again, even with him getting hurt, he finished at 4.5 points in PPR, 6th amongst tight ends, disaster all over the board, other than Isaiah Likely, who got most of the work with 12 targets, Trey McBride, 9, Brock Bowers, 8 targets here. I was looking at targets here.
Yeah. And one thing I got to say, man, this week, just absolutely terrible volume to the tight ends across the board. Only 3 tight ends had more than 5 targets. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculously low. So I'm willing to chalk this up again to quarterback play, to low passing numbers from the quarterbacks. I think these will get better, and you see so many star tight ends that just had a garbage week with virtually no points. I blame the quarterbacks more so than I blame these tight ends, and I think they will improve over time. So don't panic if you have, Travis Kelce or you have Laporta, or
panic.
you know,
Mark Andrews panic. Mark Andrews owners panic. I think
I don't think so. I think he's going to be fine. They Kansas City schemed him out. They were double and triple covering him the entire game. So they just took him out, and so they went to Likely. I think it will be better going forward. But like I said, I'm not ready to hit the panic button on any of these tight ends. The other ones I'm worried about are the injured ones, which would be Njoku and Ferguson. Both these guys are going to miss some time. So the ones I think you should look to pick up, Colby Parkinson of the Rams, who had a good night last night, and Isaiah Likely, obviously. Those would be the 2 priority ads for tight ends this week, especially if you've got an injured tight end.
And everyone's like, oh, Chigo Gongwa. Like, he only had 2 targets. Yeah, he had the 1 touchdown.
He got the touchdown. Don't chase that.
And there's Juwan Johnson as well, 10.6 points. Again, touchdown related.
Only 3 targets.
Yeah.
Don't chase it. Don't chase it.
Exactly. Be careful with some of these guys. I think Jake Ferguson, hopefully he'll do well when he comes back. It's a disaster. I'm looking at these tight ends. What a disaster across the board. Other than Isaiah,
it was just bad. I mean, and that's something you could take to heart, that, okay, maybe your tight end didn't do good, but really nobody's tight ends did good. Nobody played Isaiah Likely this week. Isaiah Likely was 100% on the bench in 100% of leagues. So nobody got his points. And now they're going to be chasing week.
And they'll start him next week, and he puts up a donut, and everyone will get upset. Right.
Right.
Okay, but, so top of the week is easy for me. It's Mark Andrews, 3.4 points, and he just didn't look good. Like, the one catch, he caught the ball, and his legs collapsed underneath him. I don't know if you saw that catch. Caught the ball, and he just didn't turn. He didn't do a McConkey or anywhere near what a McConkey does, where he grabs the ball, quick turn, and runs up the field. He just caught the ball and he just flopped. Maybe it was the angle he caught the ball or something. It was just weird. Just a bad week overall for Mark Andrews. So I don't know. I've got no Andrews stock. Good riddance. So, something to be monitored for sure. Be careful.
Yeah, I think my second of the week would have to be Travis Kelce, who only got 4 targets. But again, I think it was just the scheme of the game. He'll be better. He'll be better in future weeks. I'm not worried about it.
Man, oh man, Jim, too much to unpack. Is there anything else we missed here? I mean, all I got to tell people is that you got to relax. It is week 1. There's a lot of jitters. We talked about bad quarterback play. A lot of these I told you it's the year of the rookie wide receiver. Some of these guys you drafted earlier, DK Metcalf, are going to be outperformed by guys like Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr. This is something you have to be aware of, something we've talked about, something we've forecasted and projected. Now, in regards to some of these running backs having bad weeks, I do think Zamir White's going to bounce back. I do think, Derrick Henry's going to bounce back. I'm not really concerned. Just relax, chill out. It is week 1. Let things fizzle out. Let these guys get their cage rust off. I watch a lot of UFC, so I call it cage rust. Field rust off. And he was like, why is he saying cage rust? Yeah, because I watch they call it cage rust for fighters who haven't fought for a while. So yeah, it's just field rust, man. That's all I got to say. I got to chalk it up to that. Jim, what do you think here? Any last words to the listeners after we?
You want to talk about defenses real quick because that's the final thing. So
yes.
So anyway, top defense of this past week was the Chicago Bears. That's kind of surprising. But Chicago has I believe they have a tough matchup week 2. I'm not sure who it is. I don't have my schedule up in front of me. But the Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings, Dallas Cowboys, Los Angeles Chargers, and New Orleans Saints were the top 5 defenses this past week. As far as the waiver wire right now, if you're streaming defenses like me, I think the top priority ad would be the Chargers. They get to play Carolina this next week. That is an enticing matchup. Denver gets to play Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's offense is pretty bad. So I think that's a good matchup as well. Denver looked pretty good. Actually, they were the 8th rated defense this week. Nobody was expecting that, especially with playing on the road in Seattle. And then also, I think Washington would be a good, sneaky, easy to get defense. They get to play the lowly Giants. So I like that matchup.
I like it too. And they're at home.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. All right, Jim, I think you're going to do a separate episode, I think, for waivers tomorrow, just a quick Jim episode, just to kind of recap.
Yeah, we'll go into more depth about some of these guys and have all the names. So
this is an overview show. So that's it, guys. Make sure you guys smash it, tap it, slap it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show on your way back from home today or whenever you're catching the episode here. I got to release this as soon as possible so you guys get it out, but I just can't do it at 7 a.m. in the morning after all those games. So expect a later show on Monday mornings. All right, guys, that's it. Jim, anything else you want to say to listeners? Not get discouraged.
That's it, man. That's it. So great week 1. Like I said, I am very overwhelmed by all the football I consumed yesterday. But it's great that it's back. It was so much fun. It was a fun day yesterday. So good times.
All right, guys, smash it, tap it, slap it, hit the thumbs up. We'll see you guys next video. Have a good week. We're out.